After 7 years with Ethan, he said he was tired of me and turned to a younger, more delicate girl. This time I didn't make a scene, just threw away the ring and cut up the wedding dress I'd just bought. I boarded a midnight flight out of the capital. His friends all placed bets on how soon I'd come crawling back to beg for reconciliation. Ethan smiled coldly. Within 3 days she'll be back crying and begging me. 3 more days passed, yet I remained completely silent. Ethan could no longer sit still and called me for the first time. Sarah, come back when you're done throwing your tantrum. But a man's low chuckle came from the other end of the line. Ethan, you can't wait overnight to coax a girl, otherwise someone might just swoop in and take her. Ethan's eyes turned bloodshot as he ground his teeth. Put Sarah on the phone. Paul lowered his head and kissed me. Can't answer. She is still unconscious. I'll have to kiss her awake first. The 7th year with Ethan. I secretly bought a wedding dress, mustering all my courage to propose to him. But unfortunately, I arrived a few minutes late to the party that day, just in time to overhear his conversation with friends. Speaking of Sarah, I got tired of her ages ago. Ethan lit a cigarette, smiling carelessly. 7 years, wouldn't you get bored too? The others joined in with laughter. True enough, 7 years, even a goddess would lose her appeal. But Sarah really is quite beautiful. She has got a great figure. At Ethan's birthday last time, she wore that stepmother dress, which guy there didn't he stare with their eyes popping out. Honestly, Ethan, you were so crazy about her back, then you really don't mind now. Ethan's voice was indifferent. When have I ever said anything untrue? Then you wouldn't mind if I made a move on Sarah, right? Go ahead and chase her. Ethan blew a careless smoke ring, as long as you guys don't mind. Pathetic, aren't you embarrassed? Even Ethan's tired of playing with her, and you're taking his sloppy seconds. Another round of raucous laughter followed. That night, I didn't enter the private room. I made some excuse about a headache and went home early. Ethan didn't ask a single question before hanging up the phone. The resolve to break up was probably firmly made that very night. Within 2 days, rumors began spreading wildly in our circle. Ethan was pursuing a sophomore girl from the performing arts school, young, delicate, and naive. His courtship displays were always astonishingly grand. Just like when he pursued me years ago, he practically wanted to announce it to the whole world, smashing houses, cars, and jewelry without a second thought. The young girl had never seen such extravagance and was swept off her feet within days. At a gathering arranged by friends, Ethan showed up with her in tow. The moment they entered, the room fell silent. Several close female friends shot me concerned glances. I smiled. Why is everyone silent? Why are you all looking at me? Ethan put his arm around the girl and sat down, finally looking directly at me. Sarah, since it's a good opportunity today, I might as well speak my mind. Go ahead, I said. All these years of breaking up and getting back together have been meaningless. The feelings have long faded. I clenched my hands tightly, the ring on my middle finger digging painfully into my flesh. Yet I seemed to feel no pain. Lena is young, innocent, and I genuinely like her. I don't want to wrong her. Ethan stroked the girl's hair. I have to give her a proper status. I nodded lightly. Yes, I understand. Let us still be friends. If you ever need anything, just come to me. As long as you're in the capital, I'll take care of you, as before. Better not, I chuckled softly and stood up. Since we've broken up, let us make a clean break to avoid any misunderstandings from your new girl. Ethan raised his eyebrows slightly in surprise before replying after a pause. Fair enough. I'll head back first. You guys enjoy your gathering. Shall I have the driver take you home? No need, I'll just take a taxi. As I walked out of the room and casually closed the door behind me, I overheard someone ask, how long do you think Sarah will hold out this time? 2 days. She seems genuinely angry this time, so I'll bet on a week. Ethan glanced at the not quite closed door and smiled coldly. She'll be back crying within 3 days. I'm so tired of seeing the same thing all these years. Exactly how could Sarah ever leave you? Everyone knows she is crazy about you. I smiled self-deprecatingly, tightened my grip on my handbag, and hurried toward the elevator. Back at the apartment, I went to the corner of the walk-in closet and took down that wedding dress. I waited half a year to get it, only to never have the chance to wear it. This wedding dress was custom-made and can't be returned. So I simply found a pair of scissors and cut it up. After all, keeping it here would only be an eyesore for Ethan. When I left for the last time, I took off the ring and placed it on the coffee table. I didn't take much with me, just personal belongings. I left everything else behind. After some thought, I left Ethan a note, telling him he could do whatever he wanted with the house and everything in it, no need to consult me. I booked a midnight flight to Hong Kong. My best friend got married there last year, perfect timing to visit and clear my mind. For my friend invited me for afternoon tea and shopping. There was also a small gathering in the evening with former classmates and old friends. After 3 rounds of drinks, someone else pushed the door open. Several female classmates immediately lit up with excitement. Paul, you're quite the rare guest. Yeah, big shot, what brings you here tonight? Just happened to be next door discussing some business, heard about the old friends gathering, and thought I'd drop by to join the fun. As Paul spoke, his gaze lingered momentarily on a certain spot before slowly shifting away. My best friend secretly pinched me. Sarah, is Paul coming for you? I looked at the man with drunken, bleary eyes. He was even taller than Ethan, wearing a black overcoat with a matching business suit underneath. His features were strikingly handsome, his physique well-built, and his legs impossibly long. I squinted for a moment before looking away and shaking my head. That can't be right. We haven't been in touch all these years. My best friend ignored me and called out directly to Paul. Paul, could you trouble you to give Sarah a ride later? We've all been drinking and I don't feel safe about her taking a rideshare alone. I looked up at Paul in stunned silence. Paul's gaze also traveled across the room and settled on my face. After about 2 seconds, I saw him nod. Okay. Thanks, boss. My best friend sat down with a smile, leaned close to my ear, and whispered, Sarah, sleeping with the same man for 7 years, no matter how you look at it, that's a bad deal. If Ethan can play the field and chase after other women, why can't you start a second spring? Besides, a catch like Paul, you'd be crazy not to sleep with him. How do you know he'd even sleep with me? The way he looks at you, sweetheart, his eyes are practically undressing you. Trust me, I've dated 18 guys, I know what I'm talking about. For Paul drove me back to the hotel. When we arrived at the hotel, I unbuckled my seatbelt. I thanked him, thank you for driving me back tonight. Paul turned his head to look at me, no need to be polite. I pushed open the car door, but just as I was about to get out, I suddenly remembered what Ethan had said that day. As if possessed, I blurted out, would you like to come up for some tea? Paul kissed me right in the elevator. Already drunk, his domineering kiss left me nearly breathless. There are cameras, I gasped, cheeks flushed. My legs so weak I could barely stand, clinging tightly to his waist. Paul glanced at the camera, turned around, adjusted his angle, and kissed me again. As he swiped the door open, he suddenly called out to me, Sarah, I can still stop if you regret it now. Regret what? I tilted my face up to look at him, twirling his tie around my finger and pulling him closer. You've already kissed, my lips swollen, and now you're talking about stopping. Paul suddenly laughed. He reached out his thumb, gently brushing over my slightly swollen lips. Then, even if you regret it later, it'll be too late. For our first time, Paul couldn't even wait until we got to the bedroom. My back hurt from rubbing against the wall, and I couldn't help but whimper as I bit him. Paul, are you some kind of beast? Don't you know how to cherish a woman? His scorching palm cradled the small of my back. Finally, he gasped against my neck between kisses, Sarah, I can't hold back anymore. 5 minutes later, I finally understood what he meant. As Paul carried me to the bedroom, I buried my face in the pillow, laughing uncontrollably. How long has it been since you had a woman, Paul? Paul gave me a sullen look. It's been a while, I've been busy with work all these years. I looked at him in surprise, my laughter gradually fading. After a while, tears suddenly welled up in my eyes. I'm sorry, Paul, the first I've dirted you.
Sarah, what are you saying?
Perhaps because I was crying, Paul seemed flustered. He fumbled to wipe away my tears, but they simply wouldn't stop flowing. I shouldn't have provoked you. You've already stirred things up. Paul leaned in, cupping my face, as he gazed at me intently, his tone unexpectedly serious. Sarah, since you've started this, you'll have to see it through to the end. Day 7 in Hong Kong. My friend George from Beijing suddenly sent me a WeChat message. Sarah, when are you coming back to Beijing? I don't plan on coming back for now. Everyone misses you. Erica's birthday is in a couple of days. Come back and hang out with us. No, I won't be coming. Please pass on my regards to him. I'll mail a gift instead. Alright then, take care of yourself. In the private room, George handed his phone to Ethan. Ethan, look, why don't you call Sarah? She'll definitely listen to you. Ethan stared coldly at the few lines of text on the screen. Then suddenly stubbed out his cigarette and stood up. She can come back, or not, she might as well die out there. Ethan, don't be angry. Sarah must be really upset inside. Yeah, she even took off her ring this time. She must be truly heartbroken, you. And that woman really went too far. We've already fucking broken up. What else does she want? Ethan suddenly flared up. Listen up, nobody fucking contacts her again, not even if I drop dead. Alright, we won't contact her. Don't lose your temper. You were just hospitalized for stomach bleeding 2 days ago from drinking. Only when Sarah was around did you never have stomach problems. She has barely been gone a few days, and you've already worked yourself into this state. With every word from his friends, Ethan's expression darkened further. In the end, he grabbed his coat and stormed out, slamming the door behind him. As he walked downstairs, the cold wind hit his face, yet the fury in Ethan's chest still refused to dissipate. Sarah really has some nerve. 7 days and not a single call or text from her. Playing tough, huh? Ethan's face darkened as he blocked Sarah's number. She'd better not come crawling back to me in tears, because this time I won't be soft on her like before. When Paul called, I had just typed the last line and clicked format. I started writing magazine columns during college and achieved modest success. So, after graduation, I simply went full-time. Thanks to this bit of talent, my income was quite decent. Work is flexible. I can take my laptop anywhere under the sun. So, after the breakup, there was no need to stay in Beijing wallowing in sorrow. Sarah, what would you like for dinner? Paul's voice came through clearly, and the busyness of the late afternoon seemed instantly soothed. My brain cells have died by the millions. I'm exhausted. You decide. How about hot pot? Then I know a place that does amazing pork brains. You'd love it. I always used to order pork brains when we had hot pot, but later Ethan said it looked disgusting, so I stopped eating it much. But I vaguely remember that Paul's diet has always been quite light. Paul, you don't have to accommodate me like this. I stopped being picky about food long ago. I suddenly really wanted it too. I remember back in college, there was a Maokai place in the second cafeteria. Their pig brain was so tender and fresh. Hearing him talk about it made me crave it too. That Maokai place was indeed delicious. I never got tired of eating it throughout my 4 years of college. Alright then, let us have hot pot. I'll come pick you up now. Paul took me to a Chongqing hot pot restaurant that had been in Hong Kong for many years. The shop front was worn. The space wasn't large, but business was exceptionally good. It was Paul in his suit and tie looking utterly out of place in this setting. I watched as he carefully wiped my chair with a tissue. Then deftly rinsed the bowls and chopsticks with boiling water before pouring me some juice. For a young master like him, he handled these trivial tasks with surprising ease. Paul, your ex-girlfriend trained you really well. I couldn't help but sigh. Unlike me with those 7 years of on and off. Only at the very beginning when Ethan was pursuing me did I ever feel what it was like to be cared for and cherished. Later, after graduating college and living with Ethan for over a year, I turned into a complete drudge. Ethan had a sensitive stomach, so I learned to cook and make soups. I took care of his daily needs like a devoted housewife. But only now have I come to understand. I loved him so much I lost myself, even forgetting the principle of loving oneself before loving others. How could I expect his love to never fade? Paul glanced up at me while helping me with the hot pot ingredients. Where did you hear that I had an ex-girlfriend? I froze for a moment. Wasn't he there, girl? Always following you around in college. I heard you two were childhood sweethearts who grew up together. You mean Zhaoing? Paul chuckled. It's true we grew up together, but we never dated. I never liked her that way. At most I saw her as a younger sister. So you haven't been in any relationships all these years? Paul methodically folded his shirt sleeves. We were set up on a blind date once, dated briefly, but it didn't work out, so we ended it. Oh, so there hasn't been any since then? I lowered my gaze, remembering his first performance that night, as if that made his words several times more credible. Sarah, I want to do it again, next time. Paul's sudden remark left me utterly confused. What won't happen anymore? He turned his face away and gave a light cough. Perhaps due to the steaming heat from the boiling hot pot, his ears were astonishingly red. You'll find out soon enough. Paul scooped the cooked brain for me. Eat up. He accompanied me all the way back to the hotel. After washing up, he carried me from the bathroom to the bed. Only then did I suddenly understand what he had meant by those words earlier. At that moment, I felt like I was falling apart. Paul the first couldn't help but glare at him, though my eyes were misty with unshed tears, making me look even more alluring. Yet the way I called his name carried a coquettish tone, not sounding truly angry at all. Paul lowered his head and kissed me gently. Sarah, are you comfortable? I shook my head, refusing to answer him. He wasn't annoyed, just kept kissing me gently over and over. I was worn down until I couldn't take it anymore, tears welling up at the corners of my eyes from sheer physical reaction. Paul. My nails dug into the small of his back, my voice already thick with unbearable sobs. Sarah, tell me now, does it feel good? Paul was also restraining himself to the point of reddened eyes, the muscles in his arms taut, beads of sweat dripping one by one from his forehead. Finally, overwhelmed, I whimpered softly, it feels good, so good. As my last shred of consciousness slipped away, Paul murmured very softly in my ear. Sarah, if you're happy, promise you'll never leave me, okay? On Eric's birthday, the gift I bought in Hong Kong was also delivered to him through a friend. Ethan sat on the sofa smoking, the bottle in front of him already more than half empty. The gift for Eric was chosen by Paul and me together. A pair of vintage cufflinks from one of his favorite haute couture brands. These cufflinks are quite exquisite. Eric smiled, stiffly glancing at Ethan's expression and not daring to say more quickly, having his girlfriend put them away. Bring them here, Ethan suddenly spoke up. Eric froze for a moment, but didn't dare say more, quickly handing over the box. Ethan stared at the pair of cufflinks. The brand's logo was understated and conspicuous, yet Ethan kept his gaze fixed on it for quite some time. Put it away, he closed the box and pushed it aside. Eric heaved a sigh of relief and quickly reached out to grab it, but Ethan suddenly snatched the empty liquor bottle in front of him and smashed it violently against the coffee table. Shards of glass flew everywhere instantly, leaving a long gash on the back of his hand. The private room immediately descended into chaos. What's wrong now? Why the sudden outburst, Ethan? The injury is serious, the bleeding won't stop, we need to get to the hospital quickly. Ethan stood there motionless, his face dark and full of malice. Sarah has never bought anything from this brand before. His voice was low yet hoarse and somber. Eric quickly laughed it off, saying, what's the big deal? Sarah probably just picked it at random. After all, it's not like your birthday. Sarah's been thinking about what to get you for 6 months in advance. Ethan, the place you hold in her heart, all of us brothers combined don't even make up a tenth of it. Everyone knows how much Sarah cares about you, how much she treasures you. Ethan let out a cold laugh at these words, cares about me. The noisy crowd inexplicably began to quiet down bit by bit. Ethan, maybe I should give Sarah a call. You should go get that wound treated first. Eric suddenly mustered the courage to pick up his phone and took a photo of Ethan's bruised and battered hand. Then he directly sent it to Sarah via WeChat. Ethan didn't stop him, perhaps because Eric acted too quickly for him to react in time. 11. The private room suddenly fell silent. About 10 seconds later, Eric's phone suddenly rang. TSK, I told you Sarah loves and cares about you so much. Ethan, look, Sarah's calling. Eric said with uncontrollable delight. The others also noticed that the hostility on Ethan's face seemed to ease slightly. Ethan, will you answer it? Eric handed the phone over, but Ethan turned his face away without even glancing at it. Eric cheerfully said, I'll take it, hee. He deliberately put the call on speakerphone, and when Sarah's voice came through, Ethan's lips instantly tightened. Eric, what happened? Are you hurt? Not me, it's Ethan's hand. You have no idea how bad the injury is, how terrifying. The blood just wouldn't stop flowing. Eric rambled on for a long while, but there was only silence on the other end of the line. Sarah, are you listening? Maybe you should come back. Ethan refuses to go to the hospital, and this bleeding can't go on. Sarah's voice remained as gentle and lovely as ever.
Hey, I'm listening, Sarah.
Eric responded while winking at Ethan. Don't tell me about him anymore. The smile instantly froze on Eric's face. Sarah. And also happy birthday, Eric. Wait, Sarah, don't hang up, Sarah. The sound of the call ending had already rung out with unmistakable clarity. Eric was completely stunned, holding his phone as if it were a hot potato. He wished he could slap himself unconscious right then and there. For no reason at all. Why did he have to meddle in other people's business and stir up all this trouble? The private room was dead silent. Ethan, however, looked calmly at everyone and smiled. What cat got your tongues? No one dared to make a sound. Ethan laughed again. Why the hell is everyone so quiet all of a sudden? Ethan, don't get worked up, you're bleeding even more now. Ethan, you know Sarah's temper best. Eva, who had been sitting quietly in the corner, suddenly spoke up. Actually, I've wanted to say this for a long time. What you did before was really hurtful. Sarah is a young woman and young women have the thinnest skin. Even if you don't like her anymore, you should part on good terms. Who said, I want to part on good terms with her? Ethan sneered with a chilling mockery. She has been with me for 7 years. Even a dog would be been tamed by now. Eva smiled faintly. Then have you ever considered how many 7-year spans does a girl truly have? What if Sarah never comes back ever? Impossible. No one noticed the barely perceptible tremor in Ethan's trailing syllable. What in this world is truly impossible when a heart has been broken and turned cold? How hard is it to warm it again? Ethan, don't do something you'll deeply regret. After speaking, Eva didn't linger any longer. She picked up her bag and walked out. Sitting not far away, Matthew watched her with an inscrutable gaze, his wife of 2 years. She was feeling sorry for Sarah, standing up for Sarah's injustice. Was she still being sentimental about the scenery, accusing Matthew of treating his wife poorly? Romshan, aren't you going to see your wife off? Matthew curled his lips and lit a cigarette. Who asked your sister-in-law? Your sister-in-law is filming right now, and one TV out of the crew until next month. You're just being difficult. The friend shook his head helplessly. Matthew neither confirmed nor denied it. Eva and Sarah were not the same. Sarah had no burdens from her birth family and could earn her own living. Breaking up would only mean a slight drop in her standard of living. But Eva had the bottomless money pit of the Schwef family behind her, plus an elder brother bedridden with illness. She didn't dare leave him. Not even if you gave her 10 times the courage, she still wouldn't dare. 12. I had just hung up the phone when Paul wrapped his arms around me from behind. He rested his chin on my shoulder and nuzzled against my neck, but remained silent. I couldn't help but laugh. What's wrong? Sarah, will you go back? Back? We're back to Beijing. No plans to go back for now, but who knows in the future. After all I haven't done anything shameful, why shouldn't I go back? My home is still there. Paul fell silent again. It was then that I caught the underlying meaning of his words. Are you trying to ask me if I did get back together with Ethan? Will you? What if I said absolutely not? Would you believe me? Paul lowered his gaze, his tall nose gently brushing against my cheek. I want to believe. Paul, the first have my pride, two my self-respect. Then, do you still have feelings for him in your heart? I thought carefully before answering. If I said there's nothing left at all, that wouldn't be realistic. It's been so many years after all. Paul suddenly gave me a gentle bite. Stop talking, Sarah. Let me finish. But to say this feeling is reluctance or unwillingness, that's not it either. I lightly touched Paul's face. Breaking up with him didn't cause me much pain or distress, so perhaps I'd stopped loving him long ago. Maybe from the moment he started being absent-minded in this relationship, I'd already prepared myself for the breakup. No absent-mindedness, no divided attention, no making you cry or feel sad. Paul held me tighter and tighter until finally he kissed me again. Sarah, be with me. 13, but I didn't return his kiss. And in the end, I gently pushed him away.
Paul, I'm sorry.
Why are you saying sorry? He looked down at me, his eyes slightly reddened. It's my own problem. I avoided his gaze. I don't want to talk about relationships anymore. Then, what have we been these past few days? Paul gripped my shoulders, his voice trembling. Sarah, what do you take me for? I clenched my fists tightly and took a deep breath. Let us just say we got what we needed from each other. If you're willing, we can keep this kind of relationship going. If you meet someone you like, you can end it anytime. What kind of relationship? A tool to satisfy physical needs. You can think of it that way too. I refused to look up at him, afraid I wouldn't be able to hold back my tears. Paul, I'm so sorry if being together like this makes you uncomfortable. I'll leave Hong Kong right away. I swear I'll never disturb you again. Sarah, Paul's eyes were bloodshot as he released his grip and slowly took a step back. He seemed to be smiling, yet that smile was shattered. Sarah, you can't do this to me. Paul, he turned around, grabbed his coat, and walked out. I instinctively took a step forward, but then stopped. Paul walked all the way to the door, and just as his hand grasped the doorknob, he suddenly turned back to look at me. She even gave me a reassuring smile. Sorry, I just need some time alone for now. I nodded. All right, I won't disturb you. Sarah, give me some time, wait for my answer. Paul left, and I felt as if all my strength had drained away, slowly sinking onto the sofa. An indescribable ache filled my heart. Yet I became even more acutely aware that there was nothing I could do at this moment. To love someone with such devotion, again with undivided attention. To start a new relationship. I'm truly afraid that in the end we'll just grow tired of each other's sight. I'm afraid of seeing that person's gaze toward me change from burning passion to indifference, then to icy disgust. I don't want to repeat the same mistakes. It's just that I shouldn't have gotten involved with Paul. If only I had known from the beginning that he liked me. Then that night, I would never have let him walk me back to the hotel. 14. It was already 3 a.m. when Paul drove back to the hotel where Sarah was staying. He got out of the car, but didn't go inside, instead leaning against the vehicle and lighting a cigarette. Countless windows were lit, but he couldn't tell which one was Sarah's. Yet he knew she was there, knew she was in Hong Kong, in the same city as him. He knew that as soon as he walked in, he would see her within 10 minutes, and that alone seemed joyful, satisfying. In truth, it took him less than 2 days to figure it out. Easily, she managed to console herself. Sarah had just ended a relationship like this. It was perfectly normal that she didn't want to date again. Her disappointment and resistance toward men relationships, and even marriage, were completely understandable. Perhaps he was too eager, and shouldn't he have pushed her like that. If she felt that maintaining this kind of relationship for the time being would make her feel relaxed and comfortable, He actually didn't mind not having an official status either. What could be more painful than unrequited love? If I had to say, it would probably be about a year and a half ago, when I found out Sarah and Ethan had started living together. At that time, I had truly decided to let go. So she tried going on blind dates, meeting new people, trying to move on. But he found it wouldn't work, and decisively ended it. No matter how much his family urged him afterward, he never entertained such thoughts again. If Sarah hadn't broken up and come to Hong Kong, if she hadn't asked him to come upstairs that night, perhaps he would have remained alone for the rest of his life. Paul stubbed out his cigarette, his gaze gradually growing calm and resolute. But Sarah just had to come to Hong Kong. And that night, she just had to speak up. If the girl he loved came to him, yet he still managed to lose her, then Paul, you don't deserve the happiness you seek. 15 On the eve of preparing to leave Hong Kong, I invited my best friend out for drinks. How is it going with Paul? My best friend looked me up and down. Tisk, just look at that radiant glow on your face. Your skin is so dewy, it could be squeezed for water. Clearly Paul has been treating you well. I'd better not hold her back. I don't want to fall in love, and I don't want to get married. Sarah, why are you punishing yourself for someone else's mistakes? Besides, it wouldn't be fair to Paul. They say the predecessors plant the trees while the successors enjoy the shade. I agree with that logic, but it's unfair for the current partner to suffer because of the ex's misdeeds. That Ethan is a jerk, but Paul is a reliable good man. Why should you hold prejudice against Paul because of Ethan? It's not that I'm prejudiced against him, I just haven't gotten over this hurdle myself yet. You're not just stuck in a rut, you've been emotionally manipulated by that bastard Ethan for 7 years, and now you believe you don't deserve true love or happiness. Hearing this, I froze. Is that the pain and torment from the constant back and forth, the fear of losing what you have? Because of extreme insecurity, I saw threats everywhere. So I subconsciously distrusted everyone and the whole world, convinced I'd never receive undivided love. But why can't I have genuine love? Those who betray true hearts shall swallow 10,000 needles. Those who have truly loved will always find a new window opened by fate. Darling, do you even know how amazing you are? My best friend hugged me and gently swayed, saying, so beautiful, with such a perfect figure you could support yourself through college, and even took care of me along the way, pretty capable and kind-hearted. If I were a man, I'd marry you even if it killed me. You deserve love, Sarah, to be cherished by the best man out there, rather than wasting it on a man like Ethan. Trust me, darling, he will regret it for the rest of his life. He'll never get over losing you. Now call Paul immediately. And cancel your flight ticket. I don't know you're planning to run away again. I looked at my best friend, my eyes growing moist. But Emily, tell me, will Paul and I end up the same way? No, why? Because I believe a man with enough self-control who would rather go without than settle for less would never be foolish enough to lose the girl he truly loves once he has her. You think he asked that pig Ethan? I shook my head. Of course he wasn't Ethan. So call him now, sweetheart. You can't imagine how happy he would be. 16 I thought Paul would be very happy. But I never expected that a man in his late 20s, a group president who took over the family business with remarkable achievements. Yet the moment he received my call, he became as happy as a child. My best friend smiled at me. Sarah, are you happy? I nodded. Seems like I really am happy. See, you're happy and Paul is even happier. Isn't that perfect? At this point, my best friend suddenly couldn't help laughing. Just thinking about how unhappy Ethan will be in the future makes me absolutely giddy. Not necessarily. He might already have someone new by his side. I smiled faintly. Emily, let us not mention him again from now on. At this moment, I could actually say such words with such calmness, as if that person truly had nothing more to do with me. Paul's car pulled up downstairs just as I was leaving the bar. He stood in the night breeze, opening his arms to me. I stopped and looked at him. I had to admit, he was really good looking. Every inch of her hit all my aesthetic sweet spots. A man can fancy countless women at the same time, keeping 2 relationships going without breaking up. Seamless transitions between lovers didn't even count as a flaw. Then it's not wrong for me to start dating again after the breakup. I walked toward him, and he strode toward me as well. Amidst the bustling crowd, Paul and I kissed as if no one else existed. His heart was beating so fast. I touched the back of his neck. It was burning hot. Paul, do you have a fever? His forehead pressed against mine as he panted lightly, his voice low. Sarah, I don't know what is wrong with me. Every time I touch you, I end up like this. I chuckled, standing on tiptoe to kiss his chin. Maybe you just need to touch me a few more times. Paul's ears turned even redder and hotter. He cupped my face, his gaze burning as he looked at me. Sarah, what am I to you now? I teased him deliberately. What do you think you are? Fuck buddy or boyfriend? He asked, but didn't he wait for my answer, burying his face against my neck and whispering, forget it, don't answer. I don't want to know right now. My hand lightly circled his waist, pulling him closer. Don't you really want to know, boyfriend? 17 Ethan's car stopped at the entrance of an alley. He got out and walked deep into the alley on foot. There lived an old tailor there whose ancestors had once served in the Jiangnan Textile Bureau. Now advanced in years, he had long since closed his doors to visitors. But Ethan had his ways of getting the old master to agree. The wedding dress Sarah had torn apart was delivered to the old craftsman half a month ago. By today, it was nearly ready to be fully restored. As he walked, he thought to himself, Eric had been right about what he said the other day. Every girl dreams of wearing a wedding dress and marrying the one she loves. He had been with Sarah for 7 years, yet he never once thought of proposing. It never even crossed his mind that Sarah might have considered proposing to him. He really had been acting like a complete jerk these days. But those women were just passing fancies for him, never anything serious. Even Lena, who caused the breakup with Sarah, only held his interest for 3 days. After getting to know her, he found her dull and kept thinking of Sarah instead. 7 years together, he had indeed grown weary and tired of it all. But some people are like colorless, odorless air. You only realize how important they are when they're gone. Ever since Sarah left, he couldn't muster enthusiasm for anything. Even when hanging out with friends, his mind was completely filled with thoughts of her. Especially when he drank too much. If Sarah was around, she would always pretend to be angry and stop him. If she really couldn't stop him, she would still make him soup late at night, let him rest his head on her lap, and gently massage his temples. Her fingers were soft, and her murmurs of complaint and worried scolding used to annoy him. Now I miss it all the more. Ethan thought that when Sarah returned this time, he had decided to propose to her. He had known for a long time just how much Sarah wanted to marry him. If he gave her marriage, she would feel secure and forgive him, wouldn't she? 18. The old master's craftsmanship was truly exceptional. The wedding dress had been restored to look almost exactly like the original. Ethan paid the bill, and as he was leaving, his phone suddenly rang. For some reason, he felt inexplicably nervous until he saw Eric's name flashing on the screen. Her wildly pounding heart gradually calmed down. Ethan, there's something I've been thinking about, and I feel I should tell you. What is it? Don't panic. When you hear this, it might not even be true. Could just be rumors. What is this all about? It's about Sarah. Actually, never mind. I think it's probably just rumors. Eric, since when did you become such a wuss? What's wrong with Sarah? Did she go back to Beijing? Eric suddenly felt an indescribable discomfort. How did things come to this? Of all people Sarah could be linked with in a scandal, why did it have to be Paul? Ethan had been at odds with him for years. Especially 2 years ago when their companies had fought tooth and nail over a major project, Ethan's firm against Paul's Chongqing Industries. In the end, Paul came out slightly ahead and secured the project, leaving Ethan to return in defeat. That was the first time he had ever tasted the bitterness of defeat. As a result, the already strained relationship between the two became utterly irreconcilable. Don't get angry when I say this, it's just hearsay for now with no solid evidence. Yes, someone spotted Sarah in Hong Kong. Ethan's fingers tightened abruptly around his phone, yet his voice remained controlled and calm. What about her being in Hong Kong? She seems to be with Paul. Of course it might just be dinner, nothing more. I understand, Ethan. If there's nothing else, I'll hang up first. Ethan hung up the phone. He was carrying that large paper bag, the one containing the wedding dress Sarah had bought. Step by step, she walked through the biting winter wind of early December in Beijing. She walked all the way to the end of the alley to the car. Ethan suddenly stopped in his tracks, and a faint mocking smile slowly appeared on his handsome face. And the next moment, that exquisite paper bag in his hand was thrown into the trash, without hesitation. Month 2 after Sarah left, Ethan had once sent her a WeChat message. The message was successfully delivered, but it sank like a stone. The message read, planning to sell the apartment, what should we do with your clothes? Perhaps he forgot that Sarah left him a note telling him to handle everything here, as he pleased. Perhaps he was just being deliberate, finding an excuse to message her. What Ethan might have been thinking was that this was the olive branch he was extending to Sarah. If she was smart, she should know to take the olive branch. He may seem quick-tempered, but in truth he is quite easy to placate. Sarah never replied. The apartment, of course, remained unsold. Sarah's clothes and all her belongings remained exactly where they were, as if she had never left this place at all. Ethan would always come here late at night after social engagements. Then he'd lie on Sarah's bed sleepless until dawn. And, in the 3rd month after Sarah left, the late nights remained unchanged. The hour hand was about to point to the number 12. Ethan dialed Sarah's number. 20. Sarah was a very conservative and well-behaved girl. Although her family was of modest means, they never lacked for food or clothing, and her parents doted on her immensely. But because she had been beautiful since childhood, her elders were extremely strict with her. It wasn't until the autumn of her college graduation year that Sarah finally began living with him.
He still remembered that night.
She was trembling all over with nervousness. Every inch of her skin was flushed a burning crimson. She was breathtakingly beautiful beneath him, fragile, as if about to shatter, stirring his heart with pity. When it all ended, she cried bitterly, repeating to him over and over, Ethan, you mustn't bully me. You must never bully me in the future. You have to treat me well. You have to marry me. Ethan will be together forever, one Tiwi. But that naive and innocent Sarah, who thought she would always be with the man she loved, had already been lost to him for a long time. So long that he could barely remember what expression she wore the last time they said goodbye. Was she nodding with a smile, or were her eyes red with tears? The phone rang for a long while, just as he thought she wouldn't answer. But the call connected in that moment. He actually wanted to say, Sarah, come back. Yet when he opened his mouth, what came out was, Sarah, come back when you're done making a scene. His utterly foolish and ridiculous words were interrupted by a man's light chuckle. That laugh felt like a sudden icy blow to the head. Ethan felt as if his entire body were encased in solid ice, completely immobilized. Ethan, you can't wait overnight to coax a girl, or someone might snatch her away halfway. Paul. Ethan's eyes turned bloodshot as he ground out the name through clenched teeth. It's me, Paul. Where's Sarah? Put her on the phone. Ethan's eyes were bloodshot, a terrifying shade of red. His fingers clenched around the phone, his low growl trembling with emotion. Paul, if you fucking dare take advantage of this situation. She can't take it. Paul lowered his head and gently kissed his girl. A teardrop still clung to Sarah's lashes, her lips trembling. Though her eyes were closed, her face was a portrait of pure grievance. His heart melted beyond control as he kissed her eyelid, drinking away that single tear. She S still unconscious, mad at me. I'll have to kiss her awake first. Paul. Ethan S voice cut off abruptly. Paul ended the call and casually turned off his phone. His lips brushed against Sarah S, slightly swollen. When's baby wake up? 21. Actually, I had thought about what it would be like to meet Ethan again. He came from a wealthy family and was inherently proud. We broke up peacefully, so if we ever really meet again someday, either he would ignore me completely, or at best we might exchange polite nods and greetings. After all, my parents and relatives are all in Beijing. Ethan and I also shared some mutual friends. It's impossible to never have any intersection in a lifetime, but I never expected that such a high and mighty pampered young master could also have such a disheveled and down and out moment. At that time, having slept well and in an exceptionally good mood, I was wearing a newly purchased blush pink cashmere dress with flawless makeup. I looked like a plump sweet peach in full bloom. I walked out through the revolving door, laughing while holding Paul's arm. Then I saw Ethan stepping out of the car. I froze momentarily, my steps halting. Paul's warm fingers gently closed around mine. Ethan's shirt was slightly wrinkled, and he wasn't wearing a tie. His face bore unconcealable exhaustion, his brows deeply furrowed, eyes bloodshot with fatigue. People streamed past us on either side while the musical fountain nearby played cheerful tunes. The scene unfolded like a slow-motion shot from a movie. But I was no spectator. I had unwittingly become one of the main characters. Perhaps Ethan's current appearance was too startling. Paul instinctively shielded me behind him. Yet Ethan's expression remained utterly calm. He called my name tenderly, just like in the passionate early days of our love, Sarah. I stood motionless, the cheerful music still reverberating in my ears. Yet for some reason, I felt an indescribable sadness in my heart. Perhaps it was for the Sarah who overheard those unbearable words that night. Perhaps it was for the Sarah who was abruptly told they were breaking up that day. Or perhaps most of all for the Sarah who foolishly loved for 7 years, yet needed only 7 days to completely let go. Sarah, I've come to take you back to Beijing. Ethan never once looked at Paul the entire time. His gaze fell upon my face, unexpectedly tender beyond measure. I couldn't even remember how long it had been since he'd looked at me that way before we broke up. Ethan stopped about a meter in front of me. Sarah, let us get married when we go back. From now on we'll live well together, okay? He spoke so earnestly that I almost believed. The Ethan who had recently promised to give another girl a proper status was just a figment of my imagination.
But it's too late, Ethan.
A shattered heart can never be pieced back together, and the new heart that grew in the swamp already belongs to someone else. 22. I shook my head gently. Ethan, just go. Sarah, I never touched Lena. I broke up with her in less than 3 days. The wedding dress you bought, I've had it restored by a master tailor. And our matching rings, I've kept them safe all this time. Sarah, I even had a diamond ring custom made. I'm serious. Ethan's eyes grew increasingly red, his voice trembling faintly. He held that exquisite ring box in his hands, presenting it to me like a treasure. The longing and hope in her eyes were unbearably cautious. Looking at him like this, I couldn't deny that it still hurt. But that was all. It was just this pain. Ethan, I already have a boyfriend. I tightly grasped Paul's hand, stepping from behind him to stand by his side, shoulder to shoulder. The color seemed to drain from Ethan's face in an instant. His gaze slowly trailed downward. Finally, it came to rest on our intertwined fingers, mine and Paul's. On our ring fingers gleamed a matching pair of wedding bands, just like me and him back in the day. Sarah, are you serious? I took a deep breath, turned to look at Paul, then nodded firmly. Yes, I'm serious. Ethan suddenly let out a low chuckle. Do you really think he is serious about you? How much sincerity do you think he actually has? 2 years ago, he fought me to the death over a project. Now that he is pursuing you again, Sarah, do you think he has ulterior motives? Dare he openly admit that his pursuit of you isn't at all about competing with me, Ethan? Sarah, you're still so naive. All crows under heaven are equally black, and so are all men under heaven. You've been with me for 7 years with so much history between us. Do you really think Paul wouldn't mind at all? Do you really believe he'll actually settle down with you and grow old together? Aren't you afraid that being with him will just lead to another 7 years like the ones you had with me? 23. The cheerful music had stopped at some point without me noticing. Ethan's voice fell silent. At first, all I heard was complete stillness in my ears. Then came the faint sound of something gently breaking. And after that sound, there was only immense relief and release. See, I don't even have that last bit of sadness left. It's just such a pity why people always have to live with some regrets. Before today, I never regretted loving Ethan. For better or worse, it was still my experience. But at this moment, I can't help but feel deep remorse. Why couldn't I see it in 7 years that Ethan deep down never truly respected me? Paul pulled me into his arms, his eyes filled with heartache. My face was a bit pale, but I still smiled and shook my head at him. I'm fine, Paul. Be good, go to the car. First I'll handle things here. I want to stay with you. I gripped his hand, refusing to let go. Paul stared at me for a moment, then suddenly lowered his head and kissed me hard. Sarah, Paul, have always acted with a clear conscience in life, never with regrets. But at this very moment, I truly regret not taking you away from him when I had the chance. What right do you have to compete with me taking advantage of someone's misfortune? What kind of man does that make you, Paul? Ethan, you never deserved the 7 years of affection and love Sarah gave you. Perhaps it was this sentence that completely enraged Ethan. He had never lost his composure like this before, speaking without thinking. "And what about you, Paul? You're with a woman who has been with me for 7 years. How dare you stand there and spout such nonsense? What do you even like about her? Do you genuinely like Sarah? Or do you just like Sarah because she was Ethan's woman?" 24 Paul landed a heavy punch right on Ethan's face. And Ethan was never one to take a hit lying down. The two exchanged blows, soon bearing bruises on both their faces and bodies. Security finally arrived and managed with great difficulty to pull them apart. The two men still glared at each other furiously, neither willing to back down.
Can you stop now?
I was both angry and anxious, my voice trembling with unshed tears. Ethan's face was ashen. "Sarah, you saw it too, Paul threw the first punch. I want to let him get away with what happened today." "Yes, he threw the first punch. Mr. Fu, I'll make him apologize to you. We'll fully cooperate with however you wish to resolve this matter going forward." "Sarah, but he was the one who started with the insults," Paul immediately protested anxiously. I gently pressed Paul's hand and spoke calmly again. "Mr. Fu, let me first apologize on Liang Zhou's behalf." "Sarah, are you really defending him like this?" Ethan slowly took a step forward. "He threw the first punch, Sarah. And how would you like to resolve this?"
Sarah em hurt.
Ethan pointed to his face. "Do you see this wound here? It hurts like hell." I glanced at it and calmly replied, "Then I'll call an ambulance. We will cover all the expenses." "Sarah, you know that's not what I want." Ethan tried to grab me, but I dodged his touch. "Sarah," all the forced composure on Ethan's face shattered completely. He looked at me with an expression full of sorrow. Yet in my heart there truly remained no more ripples. Paul suddenly hissed in pain, "Sarah, do you think I'm going to be disfigured?" I quickly turned around to see the man before me with a split lip and swollen under his eyes. His chin smeared with blood. It really did look quite alarming. I took a tissue and helped wipe his face. "Ouch, Sarah, gently, gently," Paul grimaced exaggeratedly. "Serves you right," I scolded him quietly, but still softened my movements with concern. "You need to go to the hospital for stitches. Then stay with me, I'm scared of needles." I couldn't help but glare at him, yet still nodded in agreement. Paul immediately hugged me. "I also want you to kiss me here, it hurts so much." Slowly rising on my tiptoes, I gently planted a kiss on his wound. 25 Ethan said nothing more. The setting sun quietly stretched his shadow long. Perhaps it was the moment Sarah wiped the blood from Paul's face. Or perhaps when Sarah coaxed Paul into kissing him. He finally realized with clarity that Sarah truly no longer loved him. Eva's casual question that day had unexpectedly come true. Sarah would never return to his side. He had thought he would be the one to easily let go of their 7-year relationship. He thought he was the one in control of this relationship. He believed he held all the winning cards forever. Only at this moment did he realize the one who couldn't let go was him, Ethan. Sarah was the string that held the kite. When the string snapped, the kite lost its way and could never return home. At 26, I watched Ethan turn and walk toward the car, watching his lonely figure disappear. The setting sun was suddenly swallowed by the horizon. The sky had faded to a soft rosy blue. As Ethan's car gradually faded into the distance, I seemed to see the 7 years of Sarah's life from age 17 to 24, vanishing without a trace as the car roared away. From that day onward, I knew the name Ethan would become just like any other ordinary name in this world. I wouldn't deliberately forget, but I would never actively recall it again either. "Sarah," Paul gently pulled me into his embrace. I turned to look up at him, smiling faintly. "Let us go, we're heading to the hospital." On the night Paul proposed at age 27, he drank heavily and held me while saying countless words. But what I remember seems to be just those two simplest sentences. "Sarah will never have another 7 years like that. Sarah will never break up." At the moment of swearing an oath, everyone must truly believe it. Yet when they later break that vow, they wonder how anyone could have believed in such things. But I'm willing to believe Paul. Actually, it's about believing in yourself. To believe I'm worthy of love, to believe that sincerity will not be betrayed at least once. The day Paul and I got engaged, we received a gift sent from the capital. It was the wedding dress I had bought back then. Ethan had it repaired by a master tailor. There was also a card in the box. The handwriting on it was Ethan's. He said, "Sarah, I'll always be waiting for you." Paul, standing beside me, also saw that card. He smiled confidently and planted a firm kiss on my cheek. Too bad I wouldn't be giving him the chance. But that very night the wedding dress mysteriously vanished. As for me, I'd long stopped letting such trivial matters weigh on my mind. At 28, in the 3rd year of my marriage to Paul, we welcomed our daughter Emma. Shortly after Emma's birth, Ethan sent an abundance of extravagant gifts. I sought Paul's opinion on the matter. He remained as self-assured as ever, yet showed remarkable pettiness. "Our daughter doesn't lack these things, let us donate them to the welfare home." Tiske, just look at him getting on in years, but neither married nor settled, always eyeing other people's wives and kids. What a masochist. I couldn't help but purse my lips in a smile. Why bother with other people's business? Somehow Paul suddenly became cheerful. Right in front of a room full of servants and nannies, he picked me up and spun me around. "Sarah, what you just said was so sweet. Say it again for me." "Would put me down first, I'm getting dizzy." But Paul wouldn't let go. He sat down, cradling me in his arms, kissing me over and over. "That thing you said earlier, why bother with other people's business?" I couldn't help but laugh, yet felt an indescribable pang in my heart. My best friend had secretly told me before. The 2 years after I graduated from college were the worst 2 years of Paul's life. Yet after we got together, he never mentioned it to me. nor did she ever show the slightest hint of negative emotion in front of me. Why bother with other people's affairs? The most important thing is for us to live our own lives well. Having said what he wanted to say, he then reached up and hooked his arm around my neck. I kissed his slightly reddened ear and whispered very softly into it. Honey, our daughter is 2 months old now. Let us go to bed early tonight. 27 Ethan's side story. When Sarah's daughter turned 3, their family of 3 returned to Beijing to visit relatives and stayed for several months. We share many mutual friends, and they gathered almost every day. Naturally, I never attended. Yet after every gathering, I still couldn't help but ask for news about her. They say Sarah even went to Paris for 2 years of study after getting married. During those 2 years, Paul tirelessly shuttled between Hong Kong and Paris without complaint. Later, Sarah returned to Hong Kong to establish her own magazine and served as its editor-in-chief. Paul unconditionally supported every decision and choice she made. The only thing he wasn't quite satisfied with was how often she worked late and stayed busy. She could have easily lived as a pampered lady of leisure, yet she chose not to. She grew increasingly beautiful, yet her appeal transcended mere beauty. Her relationship with Paul kept growing stronger. Their daughter was unbelievably beautiful, looking exactly like Sarah in her childhood. She never knew that I still kept a photo of her at 5 years old in my wallet. Beijing is so vast, yet our social circles are surprisingly small. Yet Sarah and I never once crossed paths. One noon I happened to see their daughter Emma in the cafeteria. She was hiding behind the rockery, secretly eating a box of ice cream. Like an adorable little squirrel, her cheeks stuffed full of food. My footsteps halted involuntarily as I watched her, unable to tear my eyes away. Soon after, I heard Sarah calling her name. She also heard it, her eyes widening in fright as she clutched the ice cream box, unsure what to do. As if guided by some unseen force, I walked over, crouched down, and asked her softly, "Are you scared, Mommy? We'll find out you sneaked some ice cream." She nodded, her big eyes darting around with a particularly clever glint. "Should Uncle help you hide?" She hesitated slightly, looking at me for a long moment. As if confirming I wasn't a bad person, she nodded again. I picked her up. She was so small, fragrant, and soft, nestling in my arms. Her tiny hands played with the buttons on my suit when suddenly she piped up in that milky child's voice, "Uncle, do you know me?" My throat seemed blocked by something filled with bitterness. And everything before my eyes gradually grew blurry. If time could return to that year, that night. Go ahead and chase her, Ethan blew a careless smoke ring, as long as you guys don't mind. And Sarah would become my wife. We'll get married in Beijing and have children. She won't be named Emma either. She'll be mine and Sarah's daughter. I lifted my face, holding back tears, and smiled down at her. "Yes, Uncle knows you."
Do you know my name?
Her soft little hands hugged me. "I'll tell you a secret. My name is Emma." Daddy Paul and Mommy Sarah kissed each other, and that's how I came to be. Is that so? That's a really lovely name. I kissed her tender little cheek. "All right, we can't hide for too long, or Mommy will worry." She nodded obediently. "Then I'll have one more bite of ice cream, just one bite." She took a big bite and gave me a sly kitten-like smile. I patted her hair. "Go find her mom now." I watched her walk away. Her princess dress bloomed like a flower blossoming from afar in Sarah's embrace. I didn't look at Sarah a second time. I was afraid I might absurdly burst into tears in the crowded lobby. Sarah wouldn't care about anything related to me, but Paul would surely find me ridiculous like this. Yes, the first half of my life has been so absurd, so laughable. Yet for the rest of my life, even this absurdity and ridiculousness became nothing more than a delusion. The end.